Good evening, everyone. I'm David John Sponheim, running for president in 2016 for America's Third Party. And this is Conspiracy Monday, where we talk about any issue, actually. It doesn't have to be conspiracy, it could be anything. And we're online with a person we've met online named Winchell, who is a person using the new Uvu system, which we just installed. And it's pretty cool. Uvu's very good. Do you like how it works for you? Have you had other conversations with people, Winchell?
Yeah, I've had a couple with my friends. I just loaded it about 3 days ago. It's pretty good.
Yeah, same here. We were turned on to it by another viewer, another person that came into our show. The big questions that I'm asking about our country is, are they trying to suppress freedom of speech? And if so, is all this talk of Paula Dean and racism, and now I understand that some actor is claiming that using the N-word, simply the words N-word, is more racist than anything. Thank you, Meester. I think personally they're trying to suppress freedom of speech. I think they're trying to make it so that no one can ask questions. I think they're trying to get rid of the freedom of the press that we have. It's the one thing to prevent totalitarian takeover of our nation, is our ability to communicate and to build political movements. But apparently they've shut that down. They haven't responded to our requests with our press releases that went out to all the major networks. We never got responses. But yet we're still out there and we're still using the blogosphere, and we're doing the very thing that they cannot control. And that is the free internet that all of us are using. I know it's not exactly free. You've got to pay a monthly fee and all that. But this is a great way to share information. And I don't think conspiracy theories have spread faster than in the recent year or two or five, in which stories from the World Trade Center, truth issues that come out about how the World Trade Center was attacked and how it clearly was a demolition. Most people wouldn't know that unless they were clued in on the internet. The JFK assassination, there's another company right now looking into a possible assassination attempt theory that one of the Secret Service agents behind the car they were driving shot the president. That's another theory that's coming out. Lots of theories are in the rumor mill in the blogosphere. So can we just throw out the entire rumor mill in the blogosphere and say, oh, that's just a lot of mumbo jumbo on the internet? That's a lot of crap. You know, we could all sit back and say that, but there are interesting things that lead you down roads or rabbit holes, if you will, that take you to a place that you're captivated. And I went into that role looking into the Sandy Hook conspiracy and finding out that this whole thing occurred with a small group of people, not 640 students evacuated from the Sandy Hook Elementary. The Lieutenant Vance on the scene promised a police report. We have yet to get a police report from Sandy Hook. And then I find out that they're going to get rid of the Sandy Hook Elementary School. That's the newest thing. They're talking about mowing it down and getting rid of all the evidence. This is exactly what led me down that rabbit hole. These questions, no answers, vague answers from the government, vague answers from the State Department, or that incredible cover-up that I think occurred in 2011, May 2nd, when they claimed they got Osama Bin Laden in Abbottabad. I don't believe for a second. Go ahead.
I'll be back in a minute, Dave.
Okay, Winchell, thank you.
Someone's knocking on my door. So
all right, go ahead and get that. Okay, we will bring him back as soon as he returns. And the nice thing about this show, folks, is it interacts with people on a nightly basis. And we actually communicate with people real time. Thank you, Scott. Okay, so let's ask ourselves the question, when did Abbottabad become real to you? When the government said they captured Osama bin Laden? When the government claimed that they had irrefutable evidence, I mean 1 in 13 trillion chances of it not being his DNA, and they managed to do that DNA test, by the way, in a few hours on the Carl Vinson as they were going out into the North Arabian Sea, floating along, and then poof, they throw his body outside the Carl Vinson into the water in a white sheet, supposedly, because that was their quick way of burying him to show respect for his Islamic faith. I mean, all that was mumbo jumbo. And then the animation was released instantly of the body being dropped off, but no pictures. Not one person on the Carl Vinson in the North Arabian Sea had a picture of Osama bin Laden's body being dumped out into the ocean. And then there's that huge elephant in the closet. That big question about the photograph of his dead body. Obama says he's seen it, but no one else has. Not one single person in the world has seen the photograph of Osama bin Laden's dead body. And we're all supposed to sit here and go, okay, I believe that. Sure. Then they have this elaborate story that gets even more elaborate, talking about Osama bin Laden having pornos in that house he was living in for 5 years. Yet Osama bin Laden couldn't possibly go down the street to the liquor store and buy a camera and do a video because there's no credible videos of Osama bin Laden past 2001. So all of this is just, you know, the inquiring mind goes down the rabbit hole. And if you're one of those people, you're going to keep going down that rabbit hole looking for answers and have none. You see, the common thread that runs through all these stories is that there are no real solid answers. There's no real evidence. None. Okay, Osama says, according to you have whatever you have, Osama didn't even have anything to do with 9/11. The military-industrial complex did. There you go. And that takes you to the huge problem, the World Trade Center. The thing they blamed Osama bin Laden for, which in fact, even the 9/11 Commission report did not name Osama bin Laden as the perpetrator. They claimed that 17 of the terrorists were from Saudi Arabia. Yet our country pursued wars in Iraq and Afghanistan with no substantial evidence that they were even involved in the Trade Center attack. And that takes us to the Trade Center attack, which is, you know, a very, very interesting discussion. We could have that discussion at length right now. I could go through all the different things that make it perhaps the most disturbing event in our history. Let me give you a picture right now of the Abbottabad crash. That is the rubble of the Abbottabad crash when the helicopter crashed. There was only one tweeter from Pakistan at the time that mentioned the event in real time, and we have a copy of his testimony or his transcripts, and in it he said there was only one big bang, one crash sound. So if that was a stealth helicopter, a US military stealth helicopter, and it landed and created that carnage, that wreckage, then surely people died at that location. Surely Navy SEALs died at that location. Well, that brings up the question, what happened a month and a half later when 31 Navy SEALs died in Afghanistan in a Chinook helicopter flying over enemy territory? Why would they be flying so low? How could one RPG take out a Chinook helicopter? All these things raise huge questions. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at, yeah, that's right. Let's take a look at the 9/11 story itself. Okay, bringing up video right now. 9/11 inquiry, that's right. What really happened? These are videos that are out there.
Some people appear to have known the imminent future on that fateful day. FEMA had arrived in New York on Monday night, ready for a bioterror drill. Spokesman Tom Kenny to Dan Rather.
To be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning. And not until today did we get a full opportunity to work the entire site other than the spot at Church and Day to which we were deployed.
And Rudy Giuliani,
Pentagon,
the mayor of New
the
York,
day
tells
before
ABC's
9/11,
Peter Jennings.
Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreign terrorists.
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy.
He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
Okay, so Rumsfeld, one day before the World Trade Center attack occurred, Rumsfeld actually said that the Pentagon was missing $2.3 trillion. How can a person of his stature, Secretary of Defense, make such an outlandish statement and no one in the media picks it up? No one in the news talks about it. Yet the next day, everything's resolved, and somehow the SEC had taken a safe house 2 days before the World Trade Center attack and had broadcasted from an emergency barrier area outside of the Trade Center area. The SEC was running 2 days in advance of the actual attack in a safe area that is an emergency headquarters. When the attack occurred, during that time period, millions of dollars worth of transfers, money transfers occurred. That's something we know, because the hard drives from some of the buildings were actually recovered, and forensic analysis has been done on those, and they have determined that there was millions, billions of dollars being moved. Well, it just so happens that the Pentagon, in the Pentagon, the Office of Naval Intelligence, the ONI, was conducting a deep search for information about a bond issue that George H.W. Bush had picked up, a $240 billion bond issue. That is an interesting theory that's popped up this year, in fact. This is a conspiracy theory that some people have, that the entire World Trade Center attack occurred as a result of a cover-up of a monetary transfer of billions, if not $1 trillion, that moved rather rapidly. See, what happened was the SEC consolidated debt into one solid area during the attack period, eliminating that $240 billion debt note that George H.W. had taken out in 1991, September 11th. Exactly 10 years later, an attack occurs right at the time the bond issue gets to full maturity. Well, it turns out the Office of Naval Intelligence is the place where the attack occurred at the Pentagon. You know that attack, you remember the one where apparently nothing was really revealed by the FBI, whether it was a missile or a plane. We got nothing. We didn't get anything substantive from the FBI regarding what happened. Apparently there were 83 camera angles of the World Trade Center, and let's take a look here. Now, I don't have it right here. Let's see if I do. Yeah, I don't have that here. There were 82 camera angles that were photographed, and only 15 frames actually were brought up. 15 frames were actually revealed. And that's something that I think most people don't even realize. Well, here we go. Let's see if I can pull it up. Nope, don't have it there either. It's just running away from me. I've got so many videos and pictures now, it's crazy. I'm trying to give you, this is an interesting, check this out. Lindsey Graham just announced, we have nothing to hide. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, Goebbels, said in 1938, you have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. The very same thing, but reversed. My question to all of you is, are we going down the same road Germany went down in the 1920s and 30s? Are we? You remember that Hitler used an international gun treaty and disarmament treaty to disarm the ghettos. Well, isn't it ironic? Obama is now pushing for gun control. And just last week, John Kerry, Secretary of State John Kerry, signed an international gun treaty, small arms ban. Even though the Senate has not ruled any gun control as part of legislation, has ruled against it. So we, the American people, are obviously in need of worrying about another German-style takeover of our nation. Yeah. And I'm not trying to fan the flame of fear here. I'm trying to get to the root of what's going on. A lot of you people like to rather talk about trivialities in the show. I don't do that. I know that your mind is designed to divert. You see, that's one of the things that's going on heavily in our society right now. People are being overwhelmed with stimuli. Kind of like Alvin Toffler's Future Shock. Great book, by the way, where he described the overall effect of the mind-bending noise around us and how it makes us stupid and dumb. And then all you care about is sex. I've got a person in here who claims to be a pornographer. And he comes in here all the time and he claims that that's what he does for a living. Well, that's all he talks about. He can't seem to break into these discussions that we're having right now, some of you. And those of you who are watching this in archive are probably equally captivated by the interesting stories that are evolving here. Well, we talked about, here's the picture. We talked about this event. This is the Office of Naval Intelligence being taken out. These are only one of 15 frames that the FBI revealed of 83 camera angles. This is all we have. And if you make a judgment from this missing information, you're passing judgment on nothing. There's no basis for believing anything. You could say it's a missile, you could say it's a plane, you could say anything. You could even ask the incredible question, why? Why would they be attacking this office? Why did the plane or missile make a U-turn and go after this office? Well, this office, the 127 souls that died, that office was the Office of Naval Intelligence. They were the ones researching. They were the ones researching the George H.W. bond issue that moved 10 years ago. Isn't that convenient? And somebody says, do you believe that 9/11 was an inside job? I believe we have a lot more questions that were not answered by the 9/11 Commission report. That's what I believe. And I don't believe Barack Obama is going to get to the bottom of any of this. If anything, the two parties have neglected the American people. Obama is more of a Muslim and doing more to support Muslim world than he is our country. Case in point, Libya is now run by a former Al-Qaeda leader. What does that make you think? Yeah, Libya. Egypt, virtually in crisis mode, unable to resolve anything at this point. And we're still sending in military armaments like F-16s. They're thinking about sending the F-16s into Egypt, even though it has no government. And guess what? Obama led to the collapse of Egypt. He turned his back on Hosni Mubarak, the former president, when he wanted to have staged elections, properly designed a democratic formula for transition of power. Obama ignored him. He wanted an Islamic Arab Spring style revolution in Egypt. Tunisia, now flipping side to side, more crisis continues. The entire Arab world is beginning to crumble, and I think Barack Obama likes that. He wants the Islamic revolution to occur. Now, many of you voted for Barack Obama saying, oh no, this is ridiculous. How could he possibly be Muslim? Well, even the very thing that he wears on his finger is indicative of that. Let me see if I can bring you that picture. Hang on. Trying to get my thing together here. Yeah, that, of course, that's not there either. I know. Okay. Pictures aren't happening right away for me tonight. But on his ring finger, Barack Obama wore essentially a ring, and he still wears that ring on his ring finger, his married ring finger. He still wears it, and it is essentially an Islamic expression, and this has been translated, that says that Allah is the one and only God. Now, why would he do that? And he wore it before he married Michelle. All right, now I don't want to go too deep into the Obama conspiracy issues because obviously, you know, there's so much we could talk about. It would be an endless waste of your time. I don't want to do that. I would rather focus on where we're going now because I've just got a few more minutes. I want to wrap this recorded video up and I want to kind of tell you what a third party offers as opposed to running down rabbit holes like the World Trade Center attack or the Sandy Hook conspiracy. All those things you can decide for yourself. And I'm not asking you to believe in any conspiracies in order to move on with a third party. And perhaps that's the most powerful thing about this. But you see, you have to ask the big question. This is the ultimate conspiracy theory. Why do we only have two parties in America? Why is it we only have two parties that we call ourselves a democracy? Other countries that have democracies or want to have democracies have many, many parties. Why do we only have two? And that raises the specter of controlled government. The media sends the message that you either vote Republican or you vote Democrat. You are either in one of those two corners, and that in and of itself is the mind-bending conspiracy that is raking the American people down, bringing them to a point where we're just like zombies going, feed me. We need to step out of that area of stupidity and get into an elevated awareness where we can say, hey, this is wrong. A third party can work the problems out. Even in legal terms, third parties are called in to arbitrate. They're brought in to make specific responses that make sense, usually negotiations. And that's something we're willing to do. But the two parties in and of itself have become stalwart, unwilling to get budget control. The Democrats can't even produce a budget in the past 4 years. Obama can't get the Democrats to even agree with a budget that he wants. That's a problem. We've got a president who can't communicate. All right? That's the best way to describe it. He cannot communicate without doing name calling and pitting one party against the other. This is not a president that can walk the middle of the aisle and find a common agreement and work on our separations. This is a president that has been more divisive than any president since Jimmy Carter, frankly. And as much as I liked Jimmy Carter when he first came out, he wasn't strong enough. He didn't put his foot down in certain key areas, and he didn't develop a plan to get this country going. He was too afraid of developing a government plan. Now, at America's Third Party, we're not afraid to get the government to make a return on investment and to save you tax dollars. We are not worried about you calling us socialist or communist, because we do not qualify as communists or socialists. We are centrists, and we have a vision where the government runs like a good running business, where we downsize in areas that we don't need, like a wasteful education budget, like a wasteful military budget, where we condense the amount of money we put out and pull contractors from the core of our budget and say, tell Halliburton, take a hike. We're not going to give you billions of dollars every year. Sorry, those days are over. Tell Bechtel, tell Raytheon, tell all of these companies, they better start competing. If we need a predator that's successful and capable, we don't necessarily need to go to the Raytheon Corporation. We could probably build it out of Radio Shack material for 1/10 of the cost. I'm not kidding. We being the American government, not us personally, because I can't build a predator. Maybe you could. Maybe you ultimately could. Maybe you could work in the government for $35,000 a year, as opposed to somebody working at Raytheon for $250,000 a year. Maybe you've got skills that we need at $35,000 a year that those people don't even have the skills you have. Maybe we need to get a much leaner and better and more efficient business-oriented government going here. And that's essentially what a third party is about as well. So I have to articulate a pathway out of this incredible nightmare of corruption, wasteful spending, and collusion among huge companies that are controlling the destiny of this country in order to pull their head out of their ass. Literally. And get this country up and running like a nation, as opposed to some harvesting resource for foreign companies to come in and use us Americans and then spit us out like FEMA fodder. Now I'm getting pissed off, and that's exactly why I want you to come into our show during the week, because I do ramp up. Every night we talk about different issues. Tuesdays is Tangential Tuesday. We talk about healthcare and education. Wednesday is Open Topic Night, where we talk about wasteful spending and social programs, and ideas like abortion and capital punishment. We'll tell you all about our position on that. And of course, Thursday is really good because it's Technology Thursday, and we bring in renewable energy technologies into our show and integrate them into our formula for success in building jobs in this country. And then Fun Friday is a way to unwind and just talk about stuff. So, hey, check us out every single weeknight, 6 to 8. Go to our main site, our flagship site, which is now up and running, mobile ready, americasthirdparty.com. Thank you for coming in and watching this in archive.